Hello, and welcome to Psychology Demystified. Did you know that there's a presentation of depression that we miss in mental health? Well, there is. There's actually something called perfectly hidden depression. If you are the one going through this kind of depression, your gut knows there's actually something wrong. If you experience the type of depression I'm talking about, you are not going to meet the criteria for minor depression or high-functioning depression or dysthymia. You're not going to meet that criteria at all. You also would not meet the criteria for major depression because you're not isolated. You have friends galore, you smile, you're happy, you're not agitated. There are no tears or expressions of emotional pain. In fact, in many instances, they're actually completely absent. And in fact, when a doctor sees you, they're actually not likely to diagnose you as having this kind of depression. They actually tell you you're either working too hard, or you need to slow down, or you have some mild type of anxiety. But you know what? Underneath all of that accomplishment and everything you've achieved, there is depression. It doesn't look like the classic ones that we've mentioned, like major, minor, or high functioning, but it's there. The reason why this one is not easy to detect is because when someone's actually in the middle of it and going through it, they hide a lot from the scrutiny of anyone who suspects that they might be struggling. So the question you're now asking yourself after listening to everything I've said is, do you have perfectly hidden depression? Do you or a friend have perfectly hidden depression? Well, I'm going to give you a questionnaire or a self-checklist so that you can check off yes or no to some questions that I'm going to ask. So you're simply going to answer yes or no to about 20 or 22 questions. So on a piece of paper, just number them 1, 2, 3, all the way down to 22. And right next to the number, as I ask the question, just answer yes or no. And at the very end, I'll help you score it. Please keep in mind that this is not a way to diagnose yourself. Not in any way, especially if you're not equipped to do so. It is simply a tool for you to try and see where you fall, what category you fall. It is also not an empirically validated tool. It simply acts as a helpful mirror to view yourself through your lens that you have of perfectionism. So let's get started. Do you struggle with confiding in others, especially about your real-life difficulties and problems? Do you obsess about things looking perfect, both for yourself and through other people's eyes? Do you avoid talking to your partner or even your friends about feeling hurt by them or about a growing resentment you might have? Do you have trouble sleeping or turning your mind off at night? Do you have trouble admitting when you're feeling overwhelmed? Do you push yourself to get the job done, regardless of the cost to you? Do you respond to the needs of your friends, even when it can shortchange your own? Did you grow up in a family where feelings of sadness or pain were avoided, or where you were criticized or punished for expressing them? Have you ever been hurt emotionally, physically, or sexually and told no one? Or if you did tell someone, you weren't believed or supported? Did you grow up in a family, or are you still experiencing a family where you felt like you had to meet defined expectations rather than being allowed to be yourself? Do you like to have control of a situation if you're going to be involved? Do you have a growing sense that it's becoming harder to maintain an organized structure in your life? If so, do you feel anxiety or even panic? Do you tend to not cry or rarely cry? Are you considered ultra or extremely responsible? Are you the one that can always be counted on by your coworkers or your family and your friends? Always? Do you think that taking time for yourself is selfish? Do you dislike it when people consider themselves as victims as in that it's not their fault when something goes wrong? Did you grow up being taught that you are supposed to handle painful things on your own, that asking for help reflected weakness? Do you strongly believe in focusing on the positives in your life or counting your blessings? Do you have a critical, nagging inner voice that tells you that you're not good enough or that you could have tried harder, even though you accomplished your goals? On the outside, do you always seem hopeful and energetic, while at times you struggle with a sense of feeling trapped instead? Do you make to-do lists of tasks to be done during the day, and then if they're not completed, feel frustrated or feel like you failed? Okay, now it's time to score. Count how many yeses you have and count how many no's you have. If you answered yes to about 5 to 8 questions, you're likely a very responsible person. But you may need to consider taking more time for self-care. If you answered yes to about 8 to 11 questions, this indicates that your life is being governed by highly perfectionistic standards. And this is something that you might actually want to really think about. If you have 12 or more yeses, then this may reflect that there is a presence of hidden depression. Please keep in mind that a lot of driven and accomplished people who are very successful in what they do share a lot of these traits. The difference, though, is that in order to maintain some balance, they have these traits in moderation. It's not about just having success at any cost. And because they have it in moderation, as they succeed, this is called positive perfectionism. However, separate from these people who I just mentioned who have positive perfectionism, if your perfectionism is fueled by shame and by fear, it's important to seek professional help, because if left alone, it could prove harmful to you. So, if yours is not positive perfectionism, then please seek the help of a therapist. And that's all, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for taking care of you. Please continue to do that. Thank you for taking care of the people around you by wearing a mask when you go out, because a lot of times it's not about you, it's about someone else. And remember to be kind, because you don't know what someone is going through. Hugs and kindness, always. Bye.